Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Come Join the High Life Podcast. I am your host, Mr. High Life Films. We are here today. I hope everybody is having an amazing day. I don't know where you're at, what you're doing, but I hope it's working for you. All right. So today, I have a special friend of mine today. Her name is Tammy. She's a mind coach, and she knows a thing or two about a thing or two. So I'm not gonna even get into the whole. I'm just gonna say, "Hey, Tammy, how you doing?
Hey, Mr. High Life, how are you?
Come on through. How you doing?" So, tell everybody who you are, what you do, what's going on.
Okay, I am Tammy Zagarelli, but I use Tammy, and I'm a life coach in Manhattan, but also with Zoom, the magic of Zoom all over the world. And I mostly focus on like manifesting and mindset. And maybe today I could talk a little bit about how I coach people on how to make great decisions. Because sometimes when we're trying to manifest, we're not sure if we're making those right decisions or not. So that's what I like to focus on as far as, and I'm starting my own podcast, which is going to be called The Infinite Conversation with Tammy.
Yeah.
And that infinite conversation ties into what I do. The infinite conversation is a conversation about love.
Okay.
So that's what I mean by that.
So definitely a subject that we all know. We don't had our experiences with love, haven't we?
Yes, and it's not just romantic love. It's just the love in general, like how we show up in the world, and which part of the world we focus on. So I kind of sometimes say it as like, where do we belong on team love or team fear? Like, where do we emphasize on the loving end of things or the fearful end of things? Because we have both in us. Mm-hmm. We're fearful a lot of the time, everybody. So where are our decisions, and where do we manifest from? Is that coming from our love or from our fear?
Tammy, I want to ask you something about that.
Sure.
About the love and the fear and being on team love fear. I mean, team fear or team love, and how you can't sit on the fence. I remember we talked about this. We had a conversation about this, about sitting on the fence. Let's talk about that.
Tell me. Yeah, the way that I talk about it is that it came up for me when I was as a mother, right? We are trying to teach our kids. And one of the things that came to mind as a parent is that you have to teach your kids how to be in the world. So the first thing that I thought of is you can't be irrelevant. You sitting on the fence, you think that no one can see you or that you're hiding. Mm-hmm. But you're still, whether you're in the stands or in the game, you are relevant by what you do and what you say. So if we realize we can't be irrelevant, we have to participate, whether we like it or not. Because if we're not participating on purpose, then we're participating by default. If you're hiding, you're still making an impact. If something's going on in front of you and you turn away and look away, that was an action. Mm-hmm. Even not making a decision is a decision. Even not acting is an action.
Not making the choice.
Right. So people think that they can sort of sit on the sidelines and be irrelevant, but that's a choice to be out of the game, the game of life, and there are rules to this game, and one of them is you cannot be irrelevant. So you are showing up, whether you're showing up like this, or you're showing up and you're and it's a process, it's a journey. Nobody shows up, strong in the beginning. That's what coaching is for. That's why I have coaches. That's why I coach, is that we want to get into the process of what does it mean to matter in the world, whether we think we do or not. Showing up when it's, and what does it mean to show up when we're afraid? We were talking about that a little bit earlier. We both belong to the morning meetup, and the first few weeks you're there, you're just sitting there, and it takes a little while to get out.
When I first saw you on the morning meetup, I was new, you were new.
It was same month.
Cool because you got on there, you didn't know how to. I don't even think you had social media, did you?
I didn't even know you could put a video up. David walked me through.
Yep, you didn't know how to put a video up, and then it was like the day you spoke, Dave just gave it to you. He was like, "You got to do this, I do that," and you were like, "But what I I loved about it was I saw you take action. I remember that. I don't know if it was that day or the next day you posted a video. You
It
had like,
was that morning and it's still there. I left it, and as Kelly would say, I did it ugly.
yes.
And I left it up ugly because I love the saying, the ugly brand, which is, do it ugly, because, and he said, don't take it down so that you can see your progress. I mean, I was
I see
so afraid, and you can hear his voice in the, like coaching me through it in the background. And it was,
it.
and I thought my hair was like this. I don't even know if I, had brushed my teeth yet. And he was like, do it now. And I thought, this is the moment. These are the moments that we have, we asked for guidance, and here it is. And so I left that video up, and I look back on it sometimes, very occasionally. And it was my first time I ever hit, as you would say, pushed the damn button, as we say from your first podcast. I had to push the button. He said, upload.
And guess what?
And that was the first time somebody mentored me or coached me through like a really fearful moment. And I thought, this are the moments when you ask for something from the universe. Asking it is given, but asking, do we step into it? It was scary, but it's there. It's still the first video,
Guess what? You showed up, Tammy, and guess what? You couldn't hide. And guess what? You affected a lot of people in the morning media, because there was a lot of people sitting on the sideline on that Team Love, Team Fit. They were sitting right there on that sideline. I was one of them. And I looked, I'm like, dang, if Tammy could do it, I know I could do it. Because Tammy didn't, I could tell that you were kind of like a little nervous. You were like, you know what to say, you didn't know what to pose. You were kind of like getting fluttered, but moving.
Yeah.
Look at today. Look at you now. Look at me now. You know what I mean? So it's like, now. Like you came a long way, and I just want to put some respect on that. Like we got to put some respect on the journey sometimes. Like we're not, like you said, we're not going to show up. Sometimes we show up like this. But by the time we get in there and we start talking to people, and we start networking, we start,
And that's the thing, is that, it's like, we're not going to have a perfect journey, but the idea is that if we can laugh along the way, it's a joyful journey.
Yes.
That's the thing, is like no unhappy journey leads to a happy ending. So maybe a journey that has a lot of mistakes, but we can laugh along the way, that's a joyful journey. A joyful journey will always lead you where you want to go if you can laugh at yourself along the way and look at yourself as you grow. We're all, the mistakes can be part of the fun. And I learned that so much from David when, the number one takeaway that I always hear from is consistency. And I take that to heart. I mean, everywhere you are, you learn. Like, I'm watching, you did your I watched your first podcast last night, and I thought, this is what it is to show up for yourself. And I love the name of your first, the episode where like push the damn button. And I was like, that got me to reach out to you to ask about, do you see what I'm saying? It's like, we don't even know who we're affecting by being a presence in this world. We can't not affect people. So why not do it purposefully, on purpose? And the mistakes are going to be part of that journey, and hopefully part of that joyful journey.
Yes. And one thing you said was consistency. Well, I got a quote that I love that says, consistency beats all algorithms. If you do something long enough,
that's like a touchdown right there. That's like, seriously.
I promise you, if you do something long enough and just be consistent, even if you're doing it wrong, if you do it long enough, eventually you're going to get it right. So I just encourage anyone.
You got to be wrong to be right. Right. And there's also like another thing that I saw, and I was watching your podcast last night, and this is such an I love studies on things, because the more we study, the more we learn, right? And I'm a book junkie. I really like, when the book club, it's like such a part, is we talked about, so it's a part of our lives. So yes. And what's great is that in a study, they talk about people who procrastinate. And do you know that it's only the smartest people in the world that procrastinate? They did a study. The smartest people in the world are the ones that procrastinate. Do you know why?
Wow. Because they overthink it, maybe?
Because if you aren't really, anybody who's really, really intelligent can think about all the different ways it could go wrong. So we get immobilized. So when someone says to me, oh, I procrastinate, I say, you're really smart. That means you're really smart. You've got to see, like, I call it flipping the pancake. And I explain, like when you think of a negative, like I got this from this on like about 30 years ago from Dr. Phil. I was flipping the channels. I'm not even a fan of it.
I thought it was coming from your old career when you was a waitress.
Exactly. I was a waitress for 20 years. No, I remember about 30 years ago, I was changing the channels, and I remember just seeing Dr. Phil, and he said, no matter how flat you make a pancake, there's two sides to every story. And he's like, and so it talked about the duality of life, like the idea that, we can, everything that is negative, what's the positive flip side to that? So if someone says I'm a procrastinator, I say that means you must be really smart. And so we can then lean into, okay, see, what we want to do is soothe ourselves and bring down on our anxiety and say, well, there's a reason for this. So now I have to, in some senses, not worry about all the things that could go wrong, because that's how I'm wired, because you're smart. And so we think about those things. So it gives me a positive aspect to something that I might beat myself up over, because beating yourself up doesn't get you anywhere, but finding a reason sometimes will get you through something in a positive way.
Facts. I believe you when it comes to, I never thought of it like that. Procrastinators are smart people, but I just feel like sometimes procrastinators, they look for everything that can go wrong. They don't focus on what could go right. All you need is something to go right one time. And procrastination, I just feel like you can be a procrastinator for a certain amount of time, but like you said, you got to flip that pancake. You got to hit that switch. You got to push that button and be like, there is something here that is waiting for me. There is somebody, like I talked to you a lot about this, like there's somebody that want to hear your voice. Like there's somebody who's timid, somebody who's scared, somebody who think that they're not enough, but you come on here and you talk about, or you go on there and you showed everybody, you jumped out there, you jumped head first and let Dave just talk his talk about you, and you were like, okay, I do this, okay, all right, I do that. And it was other people on there that were looking like, some people were laughing, some people were looking like, this is a waste of our time. Some people were looking like, oh wow, this is really good. Like she is really, it was a whole breakthrough. That's how I took it. And that really motivated me, Tim. You have, to this day, that is one of the reasons why I speak so much on the morning meetup, or why I even started a podcast off of that one little thing that you did. It just,
and so you never know who you're affecting, but it affected me because I was asking the universe for mentors. And here is someone saying, in this very moment, I'm going to mentor you. And how much would it be if I had a private session with David Shands, who is and what would he charge for that? 15, 20 minutes to go, in his personal time. And he gave that to me. That's a gift. And so that's why I think that sometimes when we stumble upon something, even if we're not ready, that was one of those days my hair wasn't brushed, my makeup wasn't right, none of that. But the moment arrived, and because of having this sort of the way that I think about making decisions, which I'll talk about in a minute if you want me to, I kind of break down decisions like, should I roll with this with David? So here's how I think about making decisions. If something I divide myself in half, right? Emotionally, not really. I divide myself in half. And I think of part of myself is like my inner critic. Now, I don't even have to tell anybody what their inner critic is. Blah, 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 blah. It's the accumulation of every single negative thing that's ever happened to you in your life. Yes, it's another infinite conversation, but I'm going to get to that in a second. But if you think about your inner critic, everybody's got one. It's the accumulation of the bully on the playground, the time your mom didn't respond right to you, the time that your best friend, your girlfriend, your husband, your boyfriend, whatever, all those things that tell us we can't, the mantra, you can't, I can't. That's the inner critic, right? So it's always going. And then there's divided on the other side, we have something that we need to develop, that I work with my clients to develop. I call it our inner guidance. Okay, that's sort of our connection to the universe. If you're spiritual, it's your connection to God. If you're If you're atheist, your connection to your morality.
Mm-mm.
So it's not, like, so everybody's got an inner guidance. So what happens is that inner critic is loud and screaming, and our inner guidance is a whisper that we have to start. So most of the time we're having a really great conversation with our inner critic, and we got to do this. Start having a listening for our inner guidance. And then if you make a decision, you want to be listening to your inner guidance. The way to tell if you should do something or not do something, I heard Esther Hicks say, think a better feeling thought. And that's great. She's the master of manifestors, Esther Hicks. Mm-hmm. But I thought, think if something feels slightly better. If something feels slightly better, I didn't say slightly easier. I said slightly better. Mm-hmm. You are on the road to making a better decision for yourself. So in that moment, did it feel easier for me to do what David Chan said? To get my video up? Easier? No. Better? Yes. If I had said, I can't, that would not have felt better to me. It would have felt like, wah, wah. And my inner critic would have win.
What if Dave would have stopped and was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. And how would you have?
Absolutely. That's the thing, is that so in that moment, I put my own question to myself. Does it feel slightly better to keep going with this? Yes, it does. And from that point on, I always knew how to put up a video since then. And so when making decisions, we have to go inside and say, where am I making this decision from? From my inner critic, my fearful side, team fear, or from my loving side, the side of me that knows everything's going to be okay, my loving side. And that's team love. It's like, yes. So if you think about a life where you make a slightly better decision and a slightly better decision and a slightly better decision, guess which way you're going? Towards everything you want to get in this life. Mm. And that is what we call a joyful journey. Are there going to be pitfalls? Of course. But we spent so much time in a relationship with our inner critic? Don't we know what that's about already? Like I meet people who are like, I don't have a relationship with my inner critic. And I'm like, they're like, no, I don't have a relationship with my inner critic. I'm like, yes, see? Because we identify, eventually we think we are our inner critics. Mm. So, yeah. So if we lean towards, not does it feel easy, but does it feel better? Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. And I know this was one that you moved me on so much. So I'm just going to use an example in my life. I take care of a relative that's not well, mm-hmm. And does it feel easy to do this? No. Does it feel better to do this? Yes. And you had almost everybody in tears at the morning meetup with your story and your vulnerability about the things that have gone on in your life. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but what I'm saying is that when you are doing something that feels better, it doesn't necessarily feel easy, but it feels fulfilling, and you can have peace with it, right?
Facts. Yeah. I mean,
nobody was the same after that conversation.
And that's crazy, because that was something, it was for me, because I don't usually do that. I usually keep it in. And it was just a moment I feel I took the selfish me out this side over here. And I said, you know what? Somebody need to hear this story. Somebody need to understand. Like that one guy that was on, I forgot his name, but he was going through the same thing. So it was like, I've been there. I've been questioning myself on what I need to do for my child, and just to hear it come from, I don't know if he took my words or not, but just to,
of course, everybody was moved.
But for me to release it, it was better, right? It wasn't hard. It wasn't easy. It definitely wasn't easy, because I was like, I don't want all these people in my business,
but there was a level of vulnerability that the whole room, it stopped the whole room. When you share something so deep and what's gone on in your life, it changes. That's how do you change the world? One conversation at a time.
Ooh,
You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to do anything. You just got there. Everybody within 100 feet of them have enough people. If we spent time just sending love to those people, every single thing in this world will change.
Yes.
Right where we are.
Team love is team fear.
Team love or team fear. And we're all going to be on team fear to start out with.
Yeah.
And then we venture out, and then as we get strong in an area, we pull another person along, and then when we're falling back, someone pulls us along, and that's where we come into with manifesting resonance. Like when people people say, well, I don't know what I'm about or what I'm doing or what's going on. I say, every single person in your life is a mirror of who you are. You want to know who you are? Look at the people you spend your life with. That's how you know who you are. Like, and I think to myself, if you're a reflection of me being worthy to be here and being in resonance with you, I'm a lucky girl, woman.
I think.
But do you see how that is though? Like we've connected right away.
Yeah.
Because when you resonate with somebody, it's just like this attraction. So that's how we attract things into our lives and know who we are by the people that want to spend time with us. Like I said, this morning I was on, I'm such a big fan of Brynn. I mean, and all her mindset and manifesting teaching. This morning I was on, I went to listen to Coach Lucky and Vero. And I thought, this is incredible company, like to keep, just to be drawn to it.
Just to be able to
shows you who you are.
Just to be able to get on the phone just like that and have a conversation with them. Or just to have a conversation, if that's nothing but the couple minutes we are in the live, in the morning meetup. It's just to be able to have access to these people. It's like crazy to me. Like I'm gonna tell you something I haven't told anyone, and I'm gonna say it on the podcast. I don't know why I'm doing it. I'll tell you, but I had an opportunity to go work for Myron Golden, and
wow,
I would never have that opportunity if it wasn't for me being in the morning meetup. And it didn't go through like I wanted it to. It was different. It was different parts that were moving that it didn't work out. But just to have that opportunity to be around, to be able to have the opportunity to get a job with someone, or to have be on a team with somebody that's just amazing, making 6 figures in a day, 6 figures in a like it's just ridiculous, $1 million a day, and just to have the opportunity, just coming from being around people. Like they say, if you're around 4 broke people, you're gonna be the 5th. If you're around four smart rich people, you're gonna be the 5th. So like you say, team fear, team love, can or can't. Whether you can or can't. If you believe you can, you're right. If you believe you can't, you're right. So it's
the reason that some of these cliches come up, and the way that we say it comes up, is because it's happening. Like also, what I look at when something is close but doesn't quite happen, this is like the flipping the pancake on that. Like it is like that was the universe telling you, look at what you attracted. It doesn't matter what the end result is. It matters that what can we control? We show up, and if people say, do you want to film for me? Yes. Do you want to do this? Yes. If you are a yes, you will get more things to be yesing for, and people will see you showing up for this. It's like, you only need, Myron Golden is, you're in his mind now, and so it may not be the first time he asks you. It may be the 3rd time he asks you, that it all falls into place. But if you can stay and say, I did that, like Brynn has a wonderful way of saying, take credit for all the good things and all the bad things, all of it. And also, no win is a small win. That is definitely from Brynn. It's like, she has taught me that. It's like to celebrate the small wins, because those wins are the ones that become the big wins.
Facts.
If somebody recommended you to Myron Golden, they're going to recommend you to everybody.
Yeah, I had to look at it like that, because I was a little, I don't know if you noticed the last couple of days, I was a little down on the morning meetup. I used to be, up and talking a lot and responding to a lot of people, but I was a little off my marker a little bit. But I talked to a couple of my fellas and they were saying the same thing. Like, it just goes to show you, like, look, some people are watching. Be so good they can't ignore you. That's my favorite quote
Yes, I
by Steve
love
Martin.
that.
Be
Yes.
so good they can't ignore you, and there will always be somebody watching. So you just have to be ready for those opportunities. They call it being lucky. So when your opportunity presents itself and you're ready, they say, "Oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky."
I
Oh,
know you got so lucky, but the thing is that it's, saying yes all the time, showing up all the time. That's the consistency that David talks about, and that's the thing that I'm learning. It's like, if you are, if if the opportunity presents itself and you always say yes, you're good. That people are going to notice that,
yeah.
and you show up and do your best every time, and your best is going to vary on different days. But that, I always say, like, I want people to, you're the accumulation of your best days and your worst days. So when someone looks at the broader, vision of your life, I hope that if somebody says, "Oh, I met Tam and she's really, really negative," I would hope, maybe I was having the worst day ever that day, but I hope the people that know me over an arc of time would say, "That doesn't sound like her."
Mm-hmm.
They might help me to have a little bit of grace in that moment, because we're all going to have that bad day, but if we show up on our good days, our bad days, are, as Kelly was, our ugly days,
Mm-hmm.
then we get people to respond to the wholeness of who we are, because we are not just our best days.
Yeah. And your best is different every day. Sometimes
Absolutely.
your worst day, you're actually doing your best, but it just wasn't going your way. You were doing your best, and somebody just caught you at your worst. But your best is probably better. I mean, your worst is probably better than someone else's best. But you just so hard.
Because if you keep showing up, because they don't realize that you showed up 100 days, and in that 100 days, maybe you showed up as your struggling self, but you still showed up, rather than somebody who shows up once in 100 days in a perfect mood, waits for that perfect mood. It's the consistency. It's that feeling that we are a work in progress, and we got to show up as a work in progress.
Yeah. And
Right.
that's the kind of like the trick that social media does to us. Like, all we see is everybody's best. All we see is the best. Nobody ever has a bad day on social media unless they want you to know they had a bad day. All we see is the glitz and the glamour, and we tend to compare ourselves to somebody else's best. But when in all actuality, that best could have been like 4 days ago, and they just posted it today.
Yeah, and it's my friend, one of my best friends, Beth, calls it comparatinitis.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, yeah, well, I mean, we can't compare ourselves on our first few podcasts to someone who's been doing it for 10 years. But how do we feel we did in these stages? It's exciting, and that's what we're laughing at ourselves, and laughing with our friends, and laughing in the process, that makes it a great day or a bad day. Because just being in the game is more than we probably have ever hoped for our lives.
Facts.
And and that is a changing way to be. Change is ongoing.
Facts.
And so, from instead of having peaks and valleys and peaks and valleys, eventually we go like this. We smooth out, and we think we had a high, and it was good, and we think you have a low, and it wasn't that bad. It smooths out.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Sure. So I agree. So I want to ask you a question when it comes to the. You say you were going to talk to us a little bit about decisions, about making those decisions, and
okay.
Really, what's the process that you kind of? I know we're not your clients yet, but
it's all good.
Of how you would talk me through, making decisions in my life, and making better decisions. I know a lot of people struggle.
Okay, I love this. I absolutely love this. So I tell people let's take something simple, like, should I take this new job? Right? You have 2 jobs in front of you. Why don't we do that? One maybe pays slightly better and one maybe the hours are better. So how do you, but they're so similar. How do you make that decision? So there are three places you can land when making a decision. You can land in three places. You can land where you put this job in front of you and you're sort of looking at the two and say, does this job make me feel, even though it's making more money, does that make me feel slightly better? One answer. Slightly worse than the other. Mm-hmm. Or do I truly not know? Now, I want to say that I don't know land is a real place to land. Mm-hmm. So I give people this saying, when you don't know, when it's too hard to decide, it means your inner guidance and inner critic have not sorted this out. So what you do is, when in doubt, don't do anything. When in doubt, hit the pause button. And I'm going to give you how you do that too. Have you ever been in a situation, maybe buying a car, and it's like, or somebody's making an offer and they're like, you need to make the decision now. And you just don't know if anything in life can wait 24 hours.
Facts.
Or more. So if you really don't know, you're almost always going to make a bad decision. So when in doubt, let's take this off the table. When in doubt, don't. Pause. So just pause. So that's off the table. When in doubt, don't. So that now you're putting these things. And the reason that I look and I say, I don't say, does something feel better? Because sometimes we don't know, it feels a lot better or it doesn't feel a lot worse. I want people to literally split hairs with this. Mm. Does this job which of the jobs feels slightly better? Again, not slightly easier. Because you could say, but, well, if this job, I should take it because it makes more money. Okay. And, this job doesn't make as much money, but it makes me feel slightly better. Which decision, which do you think is really going to lead to a long-term happy journey? Something that you're choosing because it feels right, slightly better. Like, this job doesn't make quite as much money, but somehow it resonates better with me. Feels slightly better. Doesn't make quite as much money. And then someone will say, well, the money's going to make me feel better. It's like, I didn't ask that. I said, in your heart, take those things off the table, which feels slightly better. Mm-hmm. Split those hairs. And if you can't wait, it feels slightly better. You are almost always guaranteed to be on the right path. Because again, slightly better, slightly better, slightly better. We're building momentum in the direction of where we want to go. Slightly worse, we're building in momentum in the direction of where we do not want to go. So maybe it makes more money.
Fighting an uphill battle.
But the thing about it is, makes more money and the company closes 2 weeks from now. Our higher self, our inner guidance, our connection to the universe knows so much more than we know. Everybody has felt this. Have you ever met somebody and they go to shake your hand and your blood runs cold? You just have this bad feeling, like a gut feeling. Or you meet somebody and you don't know, you've never met them before, and you're just so drawn to them. Mm-hmm. Our inner guidance knows. And how many times have you gone against, like, somebody just isn't feel right to you and you go against it and you try to connect it, and then how many times has that ever worked out for you?
Oh my gosh. I can't even count them on both hands and both feet. I don't know.
Right. So decision making, like anything else, is about all of life is about learning to not just learn about our inner guidance and inner critic, but learn to act from our inner guidance and how to quiet our inner critic. We're never going to get rid of our inner critic, because our inner critic is a part of our amygdala. It's fight, flight, fear, or fawn. Like, that's like, there are times and a place when if something is dangerous, it'll say, run, you should run.
Yeah, fear has
a purpose.
Yes. Fact.
It has a purpose. But the point is that, how do we know how to start building a life? How do we start building a life how can we count on what we're manifesting, because you are manifesting every moment of every day, whether you like it or not. You're manifesting intentionally or by default. So people say law of attraction is not working for me. It's like, it is working. It is working all the time. It's like saying gravity doesn't work for me. Not me.
If it's not working for you, it's working on you.
The thing is, exactly, like gravity is not personal. It's predictable. And law of attraction isn't personal, it's predictable. Now, that's the duality, is that we live in a very personal world, but there are impersonal laws that we got to get to know. Like gravity, it's like if we didn't listen to know about gravity, we'd fall off buildings all the time and saying, see, God's out to get me, I fell off another building. It's like, well, if you know, I mean, and think about when people don't defy gravity, like Orville and Wilbur Wright. I love the song Defying Gravity. I love that song from Wicked. But my point is that Orville and Wilbur Wright, the reason they were able to fly is because they worked within gravity.
Everybody else was working
to transcend it.
Yeah.
But they worked within the laws of gravity. So if you learn the laws of the law of attraction, the law of reciprocation, that's one of my favorite ones, law of reciprocation. Like, I have some friends that come into town all the time, and they always take me out to a lavish dinner. And the law of reciprocation is, after somebody gives you a certain amount of time, it feels like, I said to them one time, if you come into town, if you don't let me pay for this dinner, I'm not going out with you. Because life has a way of resonating and balancing. They're like, but we love doing this for you. I said, I know that, but you have to let me balance this and feel good.
Yeah. Even if energy.
We have to resonate together. And so that decision making, again, does it feel slightly better? Slightly. Put that, tattoo it onto your hand. Does it feel slightly better? Because a lot of times we don't know if it feels infinitely better or immensely better. Sometimes it does. Yeah. Or something feels like, oh, no. Obviously, those decisions are easy. But it's when we're trying to split hairs. And remember, I don't know land is a real place to be.
That's funny.
And the answers will come to you.
My dad passed when I was younger, but before he passed, he used to record me with a recorder, right? And he said, so yeah, we're on another episode of the I Don't Know Boy. Because everybody used to ask me a question. I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know. But it was just so funny. But he was like, he told me that, I don't know isn't a real answer. But the way you're explaining it, and actually it's a safe place to be, because we feel like we have to, it's so much pressure to make the right decision. I'm gonna put the quotation mark on there, the air quotation mark. We have to make the right decision, when all actuality, we have to give ourselves some grace. Like, take it easy on yourself. Like you say, any decision you can have, just give yourself 24 hours. Like, tell that salesman to pump his brakes, tell him calm down. You'll be back. You got to go think about this. And I used to wonder, I do real estate as well. And sometimes the people that, the sellers, they want to, I'll send them the contract, and they were like, well, I got to think over this. I got to think over this for the night. I'm going to sleep on it. And I'll be like, is he just telling me that because he don't want to sell? Or is he just telling me that because he really got to think about it? He really got to sleep on it. And the next day, just like clockwork, they called me and they signed the contract because they had to sleep on it. They had to, they had to resonate. You had to be on the same.
You just had to breathe and see if it's the right thing. Like, sometimes that just takes a moment, but we can get confused by all the rules of, the hustle and the grind, or the, feel our way through it. Like, what is the right thing? There is no right thing. There's only the right thing for us. There's right thing for you. There's right thing for you. There's right thing for you. There's right thing for me. So all four of us, whoever the other two people are, can sit down and say, is something right? That's a personal decision.
It's a judgment call. I got you.
It's a judgment call, because most of the decisions that we make, I'm going to give you an exception to those rules. Every rule has an exception. If you are an OR doctor and someone comes in with bullet wounds, You have been trained to make those split second decisions. You may not have time to sit on that for 24 hours, but that's so that exception, that also shows that no rule doesn't have an exception. Do you see how everything can have an opposite side to it?
With that pancake.
Flip that pancake. And I made that up for my clients because, all it means is, if we use talking about things that are fearful or negative for the purpose of pivoting, we are using them in the way that can be constructive. It's not like that's the opposite of being pathologically positive, where you never examine anything. It's not. So when people say, oh, you don't ever be negative. It's like negativity is there to be examined and to be pivoted from. We have to examine negativity, but we don't want to look at negativity, get involved with it, think of it as a place we're going to, build a house there, start putting up a picket fence in Negativeville, start looking for our neighbors. We want to visit there.
Wow. Yes.
Right? We want to go visit there, and we want to kind of say, okay, so let me see what I could take from, what am I taking from here? And I'm going to bring it from land of fear to team fear and bring it over to team love. How do I work with this now? But every single thing in our life, fear has a purpose, but we don't want to give it such a higher purpose that it rules our life. We give it the purpose that it's meant to, and so when I tell my clients, they'll say something negative, I'm like, flip that pancake. If you know what you don't want, think about it in terms of how great it is to know what you don't want. Oh, I don't want to have an empty bank account. Okay, so what do you want? I want more money.
So focus on that.
Right. And so that's why it can be very confusing when people say do affirmations. Think about it this way. If you say that's why I love the slightly better routine, even for affirmations. If you open up your bank account and you're like below zero and you say, I am a millionaire, I am a millionaire, and you're looking at that, oh, does that make you feel slightly better? Probably not. So this is what I would walk somebody through. They're looking at a bank account that's on zero. And it's like, okay, so how do we make that feel slightly better? I'm going to give you an example. Wow, my bank account is zero. Okay. So I would say to them, how can you pivot a little bit from that? I would say, so do you have a roof over your head? Yeah, I got a roof over my head. Okay, so did you pay last month's rent? Yeah, I did pay last month's rent. Does that feel slightly better? Yeah, I feel slightly better. Okay. So do you have any, but I quit my job and I'm freelancing and I don't know, and I don't have any money. It's like, do you have any jobs coming up? Well, yeah, I have a job next week. And it's like, okay, does that make you feel slightly better? Yeah. So you mean money's coming to you, but right now it's empty. So right now it's empty. Do you have food in your refrigerator? Well, yeah, I got food in my refrigerator. I'm like, okay, so you can eat today and tomorrow. And do you have any outstanding checks coming to you? Oh, yeah, I do. I actually forgot about that. I have a check coming to me. So tomorrow you're going to deposit that check. Will it still be at zero? Well, it won't be at zero, but it's not going to be that much in there. It's like, but it's going to be a little more than zero.
Slightly.
Yeah. But do you see incrementally that when we can soothe our inner critic, which is always going to give you the worst case scenario, that we can move this, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, you know what? Like, I had all of a sudden they're telling themselves, since I quit my job, I have had a lot of jobs. This is a bad moment, but I've come through this before. They're all of a sudden, they're speaking it back to you.
Facts. Yeah.
But people we can't buy into people's fear. The best thing we can ever do for people is to see them as their fully expressed self. Like this podcast that you're doing is gonna go from here to the moon, right?
Yes.
And that's what in every moment, you're not going to feel that, but you need people around you that can feel that, that
Mhm.
can remind you. Like,
You just gave me
people
a
are going to,
see. I caught that reminder. I caught it.
there you go. And
That
then
it
that's the
reminds me
thing.
of a book that I have. It's called What I Know for Sure by Oprah Winfrey. And in the book, she had a
I
section
love her.
about gratitude. And it said, if you wake up looking for gratitude, like purposely, on purpose, something's going to always show up. And from
Absolutely.
the moment I read that, there's not a day I don't wake up where I automatically wake up in a grateful, even if I had a terrible day yesterday, more than likely I don't. But if I had a terrible day, I wake up with a grateful, I start my day off with gratitude, because I know as long as I'm grateful for the little thing, like you said, do I have a roof over my head? Are my kids in good health? Or is the cars outside running? Bank account might not look where I want it to be at, but it's a bank account. So a lot of people ain't got a bank account. They ain't even got a cash app on their phones.
There you go.
When
There
you
you
look for
go.
stuff to be grateful for, I feel like it's gonna always show up. So I love what you just said like that. So that was amazing.
Yeah, we're constantly teaching ourselves, and we're constantly teaching the people that we love. And one of the things that I have a lot of my clients do, almost every session, is and it's really hard for them in the beginning. I always say, tell me 10 amazing things about you.
Mm.
So you want to play that game?
Good.
Can you tell me 10 amazing things about you? It's really hard,
Woo!
but yeah,
Okay.
tell me 10 amazing things about you. And I'll help you. I'll help you if you
One.
need to, because I already know 10 amazing things about you.
Okay.
But
Okay.
let's start. Give me 10 amazing things about you.
Okay. Number one, I'm a great father. Okay. Number two, I'm a great partner. Okay. Number three, uh, I'm a great friend to my kids.
Yes.
Number four, let me see what else. Another amazing thing about me, I'm very positive to everyone I come in contact with. I show them
Yes.
positivity. What am I on? Four. Number five, I love to spend time with older kids. I mean, older people and younger kids. Just for the older people, for the empathy, and the younger kids. Well, for empathy, I've learned a lot about empathy, so I'm very empathetic.
There you go. Awesome. Awesome.
Get
Super
there.
empathetic.
Get crunching now. Okay.
It's okay. I'm saying
Okay.
eventually I could
Okay.
already give you 100, but just I'm only gonna go to
Once you
10.
start, because you always pushing out what you see in the world. When you have to do some reflection, it's kind of like, oh, okay, well,
And I'm gonna give you one that I'm gonna put in here for you, and I'm gonna tell you why this is the hardest one for everybody.
okay.
I'm handsome.
Yeah, I gotta
And
say
I'll
that.
tell you why that's so many people say to me, well, if I say I'm handsome or I'm pretty or I'm good looking, isn't that going to make me conceited? And do you know that it's the opposite of that?
Mm,
Have you ever I don't know if you ever met a supermodel, but I have met a lot of supermodels.
no.
And if you say to them, oh, you're so beautiful, say thank you. What are we talking about? They're the least conceited people, because they know that their looks
Got
is
that
God
part.
given.
Yeah, they got that part down. Yeah.
Right, but they're it's when people, just so you know, when people are afraid to know what's amazing about them, what do they have to do? They have to go seek it out outside themselves.
Mm,
And that's where conceit comes from, is when you don't know it for yourself. So
okay.
I'm
Handsome.
handsome. Yep,
Okay.
there you go.
I'm funny.
Definitely. Definitely.
uh, I look for the win every. I want to say I'm a team player. I'm definitely a team player.
That's
Um,
big.
uh, I'm handsome again. No, I'm playing.
It's great. I'm saying, it's like, see,
um,
two more. You can only
Great
have two more.
role model. I'm a great role model to
There you go.
people that I don't even know that are watching me. And I am a trendsetter. 10. I
10 touchdown.
get
And you see what I mean? Did you see that
it.
this, I mean, I've had people that, I mean, you can see, you have to search your mind and you have to think about who you are and how you show up. And it gets easier. I go to 20, sometimes I make it 30. People are like, oh no. And it's like, but the thing is, if you don't know who you are,
Mm,
How do you live in a world that's constantly telling you who you are?
And you don't even stand a chance, because now you're just going off of what other people thinking.
And right. And so how do we strengthen this? And that's why I say I'm very into methods. Like, when it's like, I say on my page, like, you bring me your what and your why, and I'll show you how. How to feel good about yourself. You got to verbalize. You've got to know you're empathetic. You got to know you're a role model. That when someone comes up against you and says, we're looking for role models here, and it's like, and if you don't know it on the top of your head, then you can't volunteer to be in that position.
That's crazy that you said that. That's so one of our mottos here at Come Join the High Life Podcast is one of my favorite quotes that I made up, called "Put some respect on your mind." So put some respect on your mind, put some respect on everything that you do. You got to give yourself some credit. Like I'm gonna have to do that with my kids. When we get off of this podcast, I'm going and I'm asking my kids, tell me 10 things that are great about you.
I say it's the greatest dinner conversation for parents and kids.
I'm definitely
ask, and you can help them along in the beginning to see, because what's 10 amazing things about you. So, and then if you want to talk about kids, because this is something when I started working with, I generally work with people that are over 18, but occasionally if a parent will be there, I will work with someone who's younger. And sometimes I work with parents who say, I can't connect with my kid. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. They're all upset, and they're like, they love their kids so much, but they're so worried for their kids. So this is a trick. This is, again, a how-to. What do you want to change that in the shortest period of time possible? Start every sentence for the next week with one of these sayings. I'll go over it, but okay. I love you. I believe in you. I'm on your side. We're in this together. How can I help? Ooh. If you start every sentence with that, it's, I not only do I believe in you, but I believe you. Like Daddy, like somebody on the playground was like, it's like, it was push me down or whatever. I believe you, and I believe in you. Let's go get this taken care of. I'm on your side. I'm not going to let this go. Daddy, mommy, nobody likes me at school. Well, I love you. I love you. I believe in you. We're in this together. I can't get, I'm never going to get this project done for my science project. I'm never going to get done. Sweetie, we are in this together. Your grades are my grades. I mean, we're in this together, and I'm not going to do it for you, but we are in this together. I'm not doing it for you, but we're in this together.
Yes.
And it's like, Mom, Dad, I don't, I don't know what to do about this, that, or the other. How can I help? Yes. How can I help? There's almost no sentence for if you're fretting about your relationship with your child. I love you. I believe in you. On your side. We're in this together. How can I help? Those 5 things can change the trajectory of your relationship with your children forever.
Wow. Yeah. And I tend to say a lot of those things I'm glad that you said that, because it's kind of like reaffirming what I be saying to my kids all the time. But that one that you said was, how can I help? Because I feel like as soon as you ask somebody how I can help, they start coming up with their own solutions. Like they start talking out the solutions. Well, actually, it ain't that bad, Dad, because I really don't like them anyway. I don't hang around them kids. But it's funny that you said that, because I literally, my youngest son got in a fight at the playground yesterday, and I caught the end of it, and I came over there like, wait, break it up. And I said, what's going on? I said, and then he was like, he pushed me, and I said, you know what, both of y'all, just stop. I believe it's okay. But it's too much fun to be having out here for you two guys to be over here fighting. Look at everybody having fun. We're in this thing together. It's just, and I said it just like that. And I was like, oh my goodness. When you said that, I was like, oh.
Yeah. So because sometimes we worry so much for our kids that sometimes they don't need our help, but we ask them, how can I help? Sometimes the answer is just listening to me. I don't need you to do anything. Well, how you can help us? Can you just listen to me, and can I tell you this? And it's like, I
listening, not
love
the
you, I
listening,
believe you, and I believe in you.
a certain type of listening, not the listening where I'm just listening just to answer you. The listening where I just want to hear what you got to say, no judgment at all, just let it go. And then I might not even give you a response. You might be like, so what you think, Dad? I might be like, well, I don't know.
But the thing is that you're the listening with empathy, and you use that word empathy. They have done so many studies that empathetic listening was, back in the 50s and early 60s, there was a therapist called Carl Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, like positive psychology sort of started in the 70s with different people, but before Carl Rogers, like the idea of being an empathetic therapist, having empathy during therapy was unheard of. It was like, and now like empathy is just, it is almost the best medicine you can have.
I feel like empathy is like a superpower. Like
it
if
is.
you have empathy, actually, I'm gonna go back before that. Losing my grandmother. My grandmother passed away in my arms, and I was the last person she looked at and the last person she told that she loved, and losing her in my arms gave me the strength I needed when my daughter was at that same position and I had to figure that out. It gave me the empathy to understand, to get out of it, my selfish ways, and be like, you know what, I'm just going to let my daughter just sit here in pain, and I'm just going to let her suffer, or I'm just, because I want to hold on to her because I just so selfishly love her, and I don't want her to go away. So the empathy in me was so strong from going through that with my grandmother that I was okay when I said, you know what, we're going to do this, do not resuscitate, we're going to let her go, and I know she's going to be better. It might not be good right now for me, but it's going to be better for her because she's going to be at peace, and she's going to not be in pain and not be able to be her.
And you could be at peace with that decision because you came from love and empathy. And those are the things, the world can be very divided. What are the things that create the bridges? Like, because I talk about a lot with my clients and for myself, is like when we're living and really hanging out, with Team Fear, it's like what we have to do is walk across an invisible bridge with no guidance to Team Love. That's almost impossible to do, but each person that learns that empathy is a step along that bridge. Unconditional love is a step along that bridge. Selfishness in a good, in some instances is the right thing to do. Because I take selfish and turn it to self-care.
Self-love.
Self-care. Because we come from sort of that hustle and grind mentality. Was that?
I can't help you if I can't help me.
Right. Remember the whole thing with, like, you're on a plane and it's going down and the mask comes down. Put yours on first. You're not going to help your kid.
Okay.
That's the way it goes, right? Like, it's not selfish. It's doing the thing that's going to save the greater picture. You can't breathe. You're not helping your kid to breathe
at all.
I know. And these things sound so cliche, but we have chances every day in every moment to implement these things. But what I'm basing my coaching practice on and my podcast and everything is that I believe that living in a loving, joyful journey is teachable and learnable. It's teachable and learnable, but we can't learn things that can't be taught. We can be taught to flip that pancake. We can be taught the laws of the universe. Like, I make up these Tammyisms, they're, like, you can't be irrelevant. And what my Tammyism number one is, you can't lose anything that's yours, and you can't have anything that's not.
You better.
So, like,
I'm over here with the fan you down on that one. Say that one more time.
You can't lose anything that's yours, and you can't have anything that's not. And I'm going to give you a good example. So people, like, if you are in love with somebody, let's say romantic love with somebody, and you got your mind fixated on that person. I want that person, right? but that person doesn't feel the same way. If that person is your person, you cannot lose them. If that person is not your person, you cannot have them. So you get to want what you want in this world. 100%. I want to be in a loving, romantic relationship. You get to want that. You just don't get to pick how it happens. You got to let the universe pick. And the universe is going to give you somebody far better than you can ever imagine, because you want a loving, romantic relationship. But don't you want it with someone who is wanting it with you? You're looking over here to the person that doesn't want you, and over here, somebody 10 times better that is just waiting for you. So if you lose a job, that wasn't your job for now. You can't lose anything that's yours. That job was yours, you would have it. And you can't have anything that's not. I want it, but it's not mine. Something better's coming along. Something better's coming along. And if that other thing circles back and it really is yours, you're not going to be able to avoid it.
Facts.
So
I love that one. That if that ain't a way to end a podcast, like, goodness.
I think that says it, right?
I mean, wow, Tammy. Like, if it's yours, you can't lose it, and if it's not yours, you just can't have it. It ain't meant. It ain't
lose anything that's yours, and you can't have anything that's not yours. That would probably be a good way to end it. So that it's so freeing. But don't ever think you can't put your sights on what you want. I want the most amazing job that pays XYZ. If you go for one that's yours, it's yours. You'll get it. If you go for one, it wasn't mine, but it represented that I'm going for it.
Yes, ma'am. And I just want to say thank you so much, Tammy. This was really, I can just go on and on with you because we have some great conversations every time I get
Yes, we do.
But can you tell the people how they can follow you? They can get in contact with you for your amazing coaching services or all that.
Sure. They can look at my Instagram page, which is a work in progress. I'm just getting there. So, because I've been a coach for a long time, I've been a coach for 8 years. So I haven't really gotten I didn't use that as a tool to get my business, but Instagram now it's the new now. And my page is a work in progress, which I'm happy to be working on. And it's Tammy_life coach on Instagram, and anybody can DM me there if they want to. And, I'm going to be seeking to make it super fabulous, but right now I'm happy with where it's at.
Don't y'all let Tammy fool y'all for a second. Tammy's page is amazing. It has so much information when it comes to being a better person, making decisions, flipping the pancake, doing the 5 sentences. I love you. I believe in you. I'm on your side. We're in this together. And how can I help? Then definitely she is somebody you would definitely want to get in contact with. Once again, this is the Come Join the High Life podcast. I am Mr. High Life Films, and this has been an amazing, amazing podcast episode. I don't know what I'm going to, matter of fact, I do know what I'm going to call it, Tammy. By the end, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Team Fear versus Team Love with Tammy. Let's get
there. You go. That's awesome. Hey. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate, being here and knowing you and being a friend of yours. I'm a lucky girl.
Hey, thank you. We really appreciate you, Tammy. So
appreciate
y'all know
you too.
Do something today that your future self will thank you for. And please don't forget to put some respect on your mind. Come join the High Life. Peace.